welcome back to Money in the Law here on my FM 101.3. I'm your host, John Drohan, along with
Whoa. You're the, how about co-host?
I'm one of your hosts, John Drohan, ridiculous. Along with my esteemed colleague, Jay Marsden, the other host. Sometimes the lead host, sometimes not. Host. It all depends, right?
The B host?
My guest host? Yeah. My guest, the guy who shows up every now and again. You were a little late getting here today. But you know what? I'm not going to. I've been late as well. So you're here on Money in the Law, my FM 101.3. Jay, how are you? Nope, don't answer because I'll tell you, you're great. You're feeling great.
I'm better now, I'll tell you.
You're looking good.
I was death warmed over yesterday. We're at 102.4 temperature.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that disclosure. That's good. Yeah, move. Can you you want to sip my soda?
You want to use this microphone? You want to use this microphone?
That's right, because we are on TV. And
Christian from HCAT's here, making us look handsome, skinny.
We're back,
making us look good.
Skinny in the New England Fat Loss Center, right?
That's right, true. That's right. New England Fat Loss Studio. That's right.
It's hard to do.
Exactly
so,
right.
Welcome back, HCAT, or welcome back to us. Well, from HCAT to HCAT, you know what I meant. Welcome back.
No, I don't.
And we're back on TV, which is I missed TV. I missed the radio. We're back, and I couldn't be happier.
The planets have all lined back up. You love it. Good.
Christian, you doing okay? All right, he gave us a thumbs up. All right, we're good. You're doing well? Are you feeling better?
Feeling better. I tell you, yesterday, oh man, you know, you get the chills, the achiness, hit you like a ton of bricks, right? And you just feel yourself slowly just going down for the count.
You know what it is? It's grown-up sick. Like
it is grown-up
sick is different than when you're a kid. Because kid, you know, you're resilient. And the other thing when you're a kid, remember, you get a lot more coddling, like from you're like, oh, you're sick. Oh, you get brought to the doctor. I mean, if you're grown-up sick, most of the time, I have to drive myself to the doctor.
Well, you're half expecting to be dragged out into the woods, and they just put you down. That's what you're expecting, right? Nobody has any tolerance whatsoever.
And by the time, I'm going to throw it out to my general practitioner, Dr. Andrew Sieber, who is over at Tri-River Health in Uxbridge. He is like the most cold-blooded doctor on earth. Now, granted, he's a great physician. He knows what he's doing. But you go in with grown-up sick, and you're like, just give me whatever steroid or whatever kind of like super injection is going to make me feel better. He's like, have you ever heard of Tylenol? You're going to take some of that. And then if your throat isn't closed up too much from the swelling, try and get some water down, and that's it. You have a virus.
My wife came to my rescue, thank God, because she walked in the house. Did you take anything? I said, no. What do you mean take something? What would I take?
Everything.
In this world, what do we have? Do we have anything? Where are we? Are we in the jungle somewhere? What am I going to take, right? Of course, same thing. She rolls up with a couple of take 2 of these, one of these, one of those. Bang, fever breaks, almost back on, Dr. Mom. Well, they know exactly what's going on. They know how to get it taken care of.
She knows, and probably a lot of it is like placebo too, and the fact that a lot of it is probably in your head.
Yep. I'll tell you though, it wasn't in the head, but I will say this. This is the one thing you do forget. I'll tell you, there is nothing on daytime TV. When you're home sick.
No. That's thank God for Netflix.
There's nothing to watch. There is nothing to watch. It is daytime TV when you're sick. That's almost as bad as being sick. You wonder,
but people do it. Like people watch.
But I say to myself, the whole time I'm thinking to myself, I'm only because I'm home sick is the only reason this thing's even on. Yeah. If I wasn't sick, what would you do? What could you possibly?
Hot bench. Yeah.
Could you even have the need to turn the television on before 4 p.m.? I mean, it shouldn't even go on. The timer should not even let you turn it on. There's not a blessed thing on television.
I can remember, right, even like on the sports, there's nothing on. There's nothing
good. Nothing. There's not college volleyball. There isn't bocce. There isn't lawn darts. There isn't one thing. There isn't sports in a foreign language. There's nothing on television.
Even on like the cable TV, even like on the cable channels, like you go to like the NBA channel and stuff, and they're showing a game that no one is ever going to want to watch.
No, not even a game. No, it's a discussion about a game that maybe hypothetically
14
could have happened, right? It's like, okay, great. I mean, there's not...
Even the guys, even like the old-time players that played in the game, they wouldn't even watch it. They're like, this is a terrible game.
Again, I'm not doing this again. I've had this discussion my entire career. There is, and again, this world of, you get Netflix and all this other stuff, but just the day-to-day idea of what am I, and then you start the second, you're sitting there on the couch, right? You're half dead, and you say to yourself, what do I pay a month in cable? What do I pay? There's nothing
better be worth
on
it.
this television that's worth watching.
Now in the wake of Netflix, now you can do what they say is bad for your brain. However, it's like, to me, it's candy with sugar and marshmallow and like vanilla ice cream and chocolate sprinkles on top. Is you can binge watch.
Oh, different animal. That's a whole other show.
You can get. You know what you can do?
Let's not even get on this path. It's not even worth.
Because you know that there's
what are we talking about today? I'm not even entertaining.
We're not talking about binge watching. Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad.
Not yet. We'll do another show on that. What are we talking about?
Wait a minute. What are we talking about? You can watch something on Holliston Cable Access TV. That's the only thing that's on.
That's the only thing that's on.
I would watch. Now, granted, a lot of times I don't know what's on like during the day. I'm not home. Did you catch it?
I didn't catch it.
There might be some
binge watching something. Yeah.
You might get a rerun of Money in the Law.
Ooh, that's worth it.
Well, now we're talking about it. Now
you want to feel better. It's the Tylenol of daytime television when you're sick. That's what it is. That's what
it's not the Tylenol. That's a steroid right there. That's
the Theraflu.
That'll get you back on your feet.
That's right. That's a injection to the heart.
It is. That's right. It's one of those like Pulp Fiction injections to the heart.
That's right. You're back at it. So what are we talking about today?
All right. So as we were preparing for today's show and in long deliberate preparation, one of the fundamental things about financial planning and kind of making a plan for finances and how I'm gonna manage my account and how am I gonna manage my assets and what's it for? It's because you need money to buy things, right? Yeah. You need money to buy, whether it be to pay your rent or to pay your mortgage or to buy cars or to buy food or just for survival. You need money in order to purchase things. And one of the things that people oftentimes, especially in the financial planning world, tend to overlook because it's convenient for them to overlook is the fact that as time goes on, things become more expensive, and it is inevitable, and it has happened since the beginning of our country. That this thing
since the beginning of time, maybe I don't know.
Arguably since the beginning of time, yeah. Right. So this cost, like in the caveman days, if you're going to like take this deer carcass, how many rocks are you going to give me for that? Well, today I'll give you 2 rocks for it, and then tomorrow it may cost you 3 rocks.
Might be 3. Yeah.
3 rocks and a glass of water from the river, right? Yeah. So what are we talking about? We're talking about inflation, and inflation it's almost like the sun's coming up tomorrow. It's going to happen. It inevitably is going to happen, and if you don't consider inflation. And I mean really consider it, not just say, oh yeah, there'll be some inflation, and then I'll worry about that when the time comes. When you're doing your planning, when you're doing your investing, when you're doing your preparation for when you're going to not have the ability to earn income anymore because you've chosen to retire, because you have to retire, inflation plays a significant part in that. So I want to talk about inflation. And then in our teaser, we said that inflation can be sexy. It's not. It's not. That was just a teaser. I don't unless you. Well, no. I mean, people are going to listen anyway. It was actually just a humor thing. But inflation, there's nothing sexy about it. It is what it is. And unfortunately or fortunately, some things are going to inflate more than or faster or more rapidly than others.
Beat me to it. Now I was saving that for like a little later in the show, but that's all right.
And Jay's going to talk about that in great detail.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Law firm rates, inflation is outrageous. You never know what
it's overinflated, right? Yeah. Which is why,
not overinflated, but whatever.
It's a little underinflated.
The hockey stick. Yeah, that's right.
It depends.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about inflation. We're going to talk about what are some of the things that you can do to kind of hedge against inflation when you're saving. Some of the things you can do as far as when you're planning and you kind of do your forecast. And we always talk about this. We say, hey, where do you want to be in 5 years and 10 years, and what is your snapshot look like at that point? And it's especially when you're retired, you say, well, I think I'm going to be making X amount of dollars, based on my estimates from my assets, from what I'm going to be getting from Social Security, what I may be getting from my pension, or whatever my income sources are. And then how am I going to be able to fare in 10 years down the road, and what inflation, what things have inflated to, what costs have inflated to at that time?
Well, the other thing you need to recognize is, and we'll talk about it after the break, is the idea that if you don't plan for the inflation piece of it, you've got this sort of erosion of your purchasing power, right? And everybody can tell you, not only do I need this much money to live today, right now, but all the things that you spend your money on get exponentially more expensive as time goes on, and you have to find a way to keep up with that. And we could talk about that a little bit and talk about one of the risks. One of the risks of investing is not planning for inflation as it relates to your income planning for some point down the road.
That's right. Right. So you have to build in some hedges in order to be able to. You got to be able to deal with that. You have to be able to. Yeah. You have to be able to manage. All right. So you ready to take a break?
Sure. Hey, let's get to it.
I mean, you don't even look like you need a break, but we have to take.
I might need a break.
All right. We'll be
internally.
Right.
I'm exhausted.
An emotional break.
That's right. That's right.
We'll be right back on Money and Law here at My FM 101.3 and the Holliston Cable Access TV. Jay Marsden, John Drohan, Money and Law. We'll be right back.
Holliston Cable Access Television is a valuable community resource which has been serving the community for the past 25 years. HCAT provides quality community programming and offers viewers a wide range of programming, including coverage of municipal meetings, high school sports, studio talk shows, and community events. Have you ever thought about producing and directing your own TV show? HCAT staff will provide you with hands-on training free of charge. You'll learn how to operate a TV camera, edit video, direct a show, audio, and graphics. State-of-the-art equipment and the latest technology are used to create shows designed to inform, educate, and entertain our viewing audience. You can now catch your favorite HCAT programs online as we now offer video on demand. HCAT programming is produced by residents for the residents of Holliston. Call 508-429-8979 or go to hcattv.org for more details.
Go back, Money and Law, First Class Radio, WMRC, My FM 101.3, Jay Marsden, Marsden Law Group, John Drohan, Main for Financial, Christian from HCAT, keeping us real. And we're talking inflation, about the risk of inflation, the risk of not planning for inflation. Not sexy, but it's important.
You can be sexy.
It's much like me. Not sexy, but important. How about that?
Not bad. Right. Are you taller or not? So you can be sexy and still deal with inflation, or not, or like in this case, in our case,
that's right.
So with respect to inflation, so what exactly are we talking about? So we always use like the easy examples. Like say, what is cars? Cars are always easy to like what is a car going to cost? So if I buy, let's say a minivan. Let's say I buy not a sponsor, a Honda Odyssey minivan, right? And if I buy a Honda Odyssey, and let's say right now the retail cost for the kind of the run-of-the-mill Honda Odyssey is $30,000, which is probably pretty close for a new. Ballpark, I'm guessing. I haven't shopped one recently. However, I will give my minivan pitch right now. If you have 2 or more children under the age of, say, 8, get a minivan. You're crazy if you don't. People tell you like, I don't know. You guys never had a minivan.
No, never.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, well,
we did. And you know what?
Yeah, it shows. It shows.
Well, I'm a little more relaxed. I bet you that my cardiac catheterization might be a little bit easier.
No,
a little better than yours.
No, I got
my
it.
blood pressure is lower.
It's much lower than mine. Yep, I got it.
So we use our minivan. So let's say right now. So today I'm going to buy a minivan. I'm going to spend $30,000 on it, and I'm going to keep that minivan in our case, and I think we're the same. Like with cars, we keep them, right? We hang on to them.
There's no trading up.
Take it from your financial planners here. Yeah.
How many miles? How many miles in that car? That's a lot. Yep,
drive
them.
Right. Yep. Drive them as long as they'll
into
drive
the ground.
You don't need. I mean, that's the opposite of inflation. Is a sexy car. You don't need a sexy car because. Why?
For what?
Why?
Right.
For what? Who are you trying to impress?
Yep.
You got to You want a good car, right?
Yeah.
You want a reliable car.
Yep.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm telling you that right now, as your financial Christian. Do you believe in this?
He does. He's a buyer. He's a buyer.
You know what he is?
Early adopter.
He's looking. He's looking for a car. Yeah. He's. You know what he is? He's like he's a leaser.
And he's thinking. He's thinking. I have a ton of people to impress. I'm listening to you two jokers, right? I might get there. I might get there, but not now. Not now. Not now.
That's right, suckers. Yeah.
So are you going to use? I was going to make a very simple example that used to come up all the time, and every once in a while talk about inflation to illustrate the concept of inflation. What is the famous one that you put right on your business card? Do you ever hear the story?
No, send it.
U.S. postage stamp.
Oh, stamp, but it's gone backwards now. It's cheaper.
Recently it has. It has. I still use my
I never put a postage stamp on my business card.
That was the example. Somebody used to have a postage stamp and they talk about the risks.
Oh, on their
business card. Say, you got to worry about inflation. You plan for inflation. They have like a 2-cent stamp on it.
You know what that is?
Not
you know
me.
that is the green guys.
That's
right.
right.
Oh, that's a home run. And these are the same guys that if they were selling a vacuum would throw a dirt bomb into your knock on your door, throw it past your ear. Oh, let me get that up.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
All right, so back to my car example. So let's say I'm buying. So what is it going to cost me in 10 years when I need to replace my car? And let's say I want to buy the same exact car, or the same exact type and make and model of the car, but it's 10 years down the road.
Not 30.
It ain't going to be 30.
No.
And everybody kind of has had this experience, and especially for people so there's some people actually do buy the same type of car year in and year out.
Sure.
And maybe you're not buying that car. Maybe you just want to buy but cars now, especially even used cars in the wake of the internet and how like the used car system is, cars all cost about the same. Like if it's a comparable car. So if you're buying a Subaru Forester, a 2010 Subaru Forester versus from one used car dealer to another, it's about the same. It's all because everything's the same on the internet. So, but that car cost is going to go up if you want to buy a new minivan. If you want to buy a new minivan with those kind of specs on it, it's going to cost, and it's going to go up. And so let's say for instance that you don't plan for that. So right now, if I'm buying a $30,000 car, which is a lot of money for a car, but it's a new car and it's one I want to keep for a long time.
Hopefully 10 years. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So let's say let's use a simple example. Let's say I put down $10,000. I'm going to finance $20,000 over 5 years. Right. I'm going to find me a 5-year loan. And then I'll pay for 5 years, and then for the next 5 years I'll own that car outright. So hopefully I'll kind of make some of my money back on my payments, right?
Sure.
If that car costs $40,000, let's say the car's gone from $30,000 for the same car, $40,000 10 years from now, which is not an unrealistic assumption. Now I'm financing $30,000, right? I have to put down $15,000 or $20,000 in order to get the same type of payment. And then we're not even taking into consideration interest rates and what the cost of financing is. So that's something that you have to take into. So either somehow you got to come up with that money, right? Somehow you have to come up with that, either like an extra down payment in order to sustain the same type of the same cost of what that car cost me per month.
To put yourself in the same position that you were 10 years ago, it's going to cost you more money.
It's going to cost you more money.
And it's going to be the same across any, pick any basket of goods, right? You want to go, you joke all the time. You want to go buy a loaf of bread? Loaf of bread 10 years ago, cheaper than it was today. You want your property taxes. Every year, everybody says, oh my God, my property taxes go up. Why do your property taxes go up? Because everything related to running your town goes up. The cost of everything goes up.
Everybody's salaries go up.
Salaries are the big thing. Salaries are the big driver. Yeah, that salaries go up. The cost of asphalt goes up. The cost of snowplow goes up. The cost of salt to salt your roads goes up. Everything goes, to a certain extent, for the most part, in one direction. Yep. There's these aberrations, and you average it out over a window of time. But for the most part, it only goes in one direction. Things, there'll be a cycle, right? Gasoline got really expensive for a while. Then it dropped back down.
Sure.
So then you get that's where the averages come in. But you got to plan for it.
You could say the same thing with real estate, right? So in some areas, the real estate values skyrocket,
Yep.
like out of control. And in some places they don't. They flatline or they even go down. It all depends on kind of where you're at or kind of what you're looking at. So, and there are going to be these sectors that are going to kind of go against inflation for a period of time, but everything's cyclical. They'll come back. And then like you said, so if I average it out, the price of fuel, the price to fill my tank up over the last 30 years has gone up.
So when you guys talk inflation with your clients, what do you when you do an assumption, you do some calculation for clients, what do you use well, let me say it this way. The reason that you have to build an inflation factor into your discussion with your clients, the way we approach it is, if you assume no inflation, then you're doing your clients a disservice because you're giving them this false sense of security that their money's really earning in some respects more than it's really earning.
That's right.
Because this whole after tax, after inflation, returns for what you think your money's going to earn. And the other thing that clients, when they come in and they want to be really conservative, and you talk about the inflation component, and you say, well, if you use a 2% inflation rate, right? And you do
Which is not a bad rate to use.
No, it's not unreasonable, right?
Nope.
Long-term rate could, but if your clients come in, if your clients are really conservative and they're investing their money in that CD that they love, and that CD's only earning 1%, which is not unusual, right?
I mean, that's not bad.
Right.
This
So what's happening? So right away, you talk about purchasing power. Every year you're behind the 8 ball by 1%.
Every year, it's that the value, the real value. That's what we call the real value of the money when we take into consideration inflation is going down.
Yeah.
So your $100,000 is going down by 1%, even though on paper on your CD it's going up by one.
Yeah,
it's
you
going
earned,
up by 1%.
Yeah, you earned 1% on your 100,000, but from a purchasing
went
power
back on
perspective,
2.
yeah, that's right. That's right. It's like 1 step forward, 2 step back. So you're not staying ahead of the curve.
So let me give you an example. This is a sexy example. So since 2000, so over the past 16 years, not including this year, 2017.
All right.
So since 2000, how many years do you think we've had negative inflation?
We've had negative inflation?
Negative inflation or deflation. In other words, where there has been no average inflation increase.
All right, I'm going to guess.
In 16 years.
I'm going to guess 0.
You're going to guess wrong.
Okay.
There was 1 year.
I was going to say 1.
Yeah, 1 year. Well,
because I knew you were baiting me with the way you asked the question.
That's right. That's right. I'm glad it was a good guess.
Yeah.
2009. 2009 was the deflation. Remember, 2009 was the year that kind of came in the wake of the 2007, 2008 market drop. So 2009, and so remember, we had like a fire hose, like a 10-foot giant tube of money coming out of the federal government in order to subsidize and kind of keep all these banks afloat and keep all these companies. So the big influx of government money during that time added to the whole that led to the deflation. So it's not something that happens, the perfect storm of the housing market and everything, not something that happens all the time.
No.
So that's 1 year. The rest of the time we've had inflation. How many years do you think we had more than 3% inflation? 3%. Remember, we were using 2 as our example. More than 3%.
2.
5.
Whoa.
5 years we've had more than 3%. How many years do you think we've had more than 2%?
8.
10 years.
Gosh.
So 10 out of 16, we've had a greater than our assumption of 2% inflation. So, folks, what's that tell you? That tells you that and again, this is just across the board. This is everything averaged in across the board. The whole gross national product across the board is increasing by at least 2% on average over and this is just in the 21st century.
Well, I think what it tells you is when you sit down and talk to clients about goals, objectives, time frame, risk tolerance, and what you think that portfolio should look like, you have to say to somebody that yes, we can be conservative if that's what you want to be, but there are inherent risks in being conservative that are different from the market risk. Different from the fact that you might lose your money. The risk is you might not make enough money to keep ahead of inflation, and at the eroding your purchasing power.
Yeah, and at the end, and that's a great example because those are the people that you have to talk to about inflation. The guy who's saying, okay, look, I get it, I understand that there's market risk, I understand, but I need to make a return. I need to make a return on my money, and I'm willing to assume risk. I'm willing to assume this much risk in order to get this much return. I understand that.
You bring up a good point. People who have no problem or understand and are willing to accept a certain amount of market risk. The inflation risk never becomes a conversation. It's just not because they're looking to have their portfolio grow.
Yeah, but they get it, right? They understand, and it's important for them to understand that there's inflation. So if I say, hey, I'm assuming a risk. Let's say I'm assuming a risk where I think I'm going to try and earn 10% or better, and people talk like say I'm shooting for 10%. Now that's risk.
Yeah,
that's a significant risk. So if someone says to me, I want to make 10%, I'm like, all right. We can do this. We can. That can be our goal over a period of time. But we are going to assume some risk. And the other thing, as while we're assuming that risk, remember inflation. So if I'm making 10% and I'm estimating a 2% inflation, then I'm really going to be 8%. And I'm not even talking about taxes. So, so let's say a post-tax 10%, then really it's an 8% return. So understanding that I'm assuming this risk, but if I take inflation into consideration, there's even more risk involved. There's even that greater risk that I'm not gonna make 10, I'm gonna make 8. And so when you do your calculations, you have to take that into consideration. You have to say, if someone's saying I need to make 10%, it's because they really need to make 8 when it's all said and done.
Right. Well, and then on the other side of that is if somebody says I need to be really conservative.
Well, that's the big one.
Every year over year, you fall further and further and further behind the 8 ball because your money is not keeping up with the rate of inflation. And it's just like on the other side where you can't expect your money to earn, you can't make up for a lot of years in a short window of time. It becomes the same exact problem on the other end, and you can't catch up. If you miss 3 or 4 or 5, if you have your portfolio really conservatively invested for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then you say, you know what, this inflation thing, you were right, John.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe you find. I believe you. You were right. Yeah. You were right. Right. Which you never
Fix
hear.
This.
That's right. Now you say, now I got to catch up. You can't catch up because now catching up means taking on a lot more risk, and you've already proven that you are unwilling to take on that risk. So now you can't just say, well, put me at the complete other end of the spectrum. I was too conservative for too long a period of time, and now I need to make it up by being really aggressive for too short a window of time.
That's really where we. Yeah, right.
Still alive.
That's really the big one right there. Is the people who, and how many times have we seen it with clients where they're like, I'm really conservative. I don't want to lose my money because they've experienced it. They've been in the market. Some of them have taken a bath in the market because and so they're super gun shy and they're like, I just want to be people. I want to keep money I want to keep it in the bank. I want to keep it in some guaranteed fixed income. I want to do something where I just don't want any risk. I don't want to lose any money. We hear that all the time.
And you try saying you're already losing money. Even doing nothing.
And it's hard. It's hard to
It doesn't sound like it makes sense. You say stuff, but you're already losing money because you're not losing money. You're losing purchasing power.
Yeah.
You're giving up purchasing power.
So we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk about kind of what we can do to kind of help manage those conservative investors, and then what we can do as far as being able to how we can mitigate that risk of inflation, and at the same time trying to balancing act of mitigating inflation risk with market risk, and what are some options we could do that.
Oh, I can't wait.
You will have to wait.
It's different. It's different when you're right here experiencing it.
You have to wait. You have to wait. But we'll be right back. Jay Marsden, John Drohan, Money, Christian, Holliston Cable Access TV, My FM 101.3. We will be right back.
All right. Can't wait.
Holliston Cable Access Television is a valuable community resource which has been serving the community for the past 25 years. HCAT provides quality community programming and offers viewers a wide range of programming, including coverage of municipal meetings, high school sports, studio talk shows, and community events. Have you ever thought about producing and directing your own TV show? HCAT staff will provide you with hands-on training free of charge. You'll learn how to operate a TV camera, edit video, direct a show, audio, and graphics. State-of-the-art equipment and the latest technology are used to create shows designed to inform, educate, and entertain our viewing audience. You can now catch your favorite HCAT programs online as we now offer video on demand. HCAT programming is produced by residents for the residents of Holliston. Call 508-429-8979 or go to hcattv.org for more details.
They may do it because it's cool to hear the gap, the distance. We're back.
You're back. Money Law, First Class Radio on WMRC 101.3. Jay Marsden, Marsden Law Group. John Drohan, Mayor for Financial.
Talk to me about 101.3.
Well, we're just chit-chatting with Kristen. We were asking Christian when they play this on, for some of our listeners who may remember Johnny most, we were asking do we think that people watch the show on TV and then listen to it on the radio because they think it might be different. And John pointed out that it's probably not that different because it's the same show.
It's not at all different.
No. But some people might do that. The old Johnny most days. Remember doing that?
Maybe they like the way their radio sounds.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Oh, you know what? They're doing stuff around the house. Maybe they're trying to clean, doing some things around the house.
Saturday's a great cleaning day.
Yep. But probably most people don't do it that way.
Saturday is also a great barbecue day. It's a great tailgate day. It's a great day to get ready for the fall, which we are now right in the middle of. This is the part of the show where we talk about the weather and we talk about the seasons. I know everybody hangs on their seat for this part. So And I'll never forget my co-host's famous quote of, like, I don't know how many falls ago it was, where you said, "I don't think I can drink another pumpkin beer." That's just kind of like
too many of them.
It's the
Too many.
thing to do in autumn.
Oh,
They're everywhere. Like
Yeah.
everywhere you
go.
everywhere you go, someone's handing you one, right?
Yeah,
Like,
everything
what
is
that,
pumpkin
Yeah.
shandy, pumpkin this, pumpkin that. You're so sick of it.
And let me ask you this: does pumpkin even have a flavor?
I don't even know.
I don't think it
don't know.
does.
I don't
What's
know.
the pumpkin flavor? It's that other stuff. They kind of mix it all in, but it's
all
not
the
pumpkin.
spices that are in there?
Yeah, it's like
Oh, yeah,
cloves and
please.
cinnamon and all that stuff.
yeah.
It ain't pumpkin. I mean, you take a bite of a pumpkin, it doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah, years ago, way back in the day when it first became a thing, I used to work at a small mutual fund company in downtown Boston, and our office was right down the street from the Harpoon Brewery, and they had just come out with their winter warmer. And that was
Because you were cold until that point.
It was like it was like finding gold in the Klondike, right? You couldn't get a hold of it, and because we were so close, you could run down and be like, I'm just gonna run down and grab some. I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Oh wait, I'm not leaving
Yep.
work.
No, this was at work. No, this was at work. Yeah, this was at work.
We're
Yeah.
working today.
Yeah, you call and get a quote. You get a quote, all right.
We're not there yet, right? We're still in the pumpkin head.
We're clinging to the
We're still
summer,
in
clinging to the
pumpkin.
pumple drumpkin or
That's
whatever
right.
they call it. All these crazy, crazy.
Give me two pumple drumpkins.
Yeah,
yeah.
Just give me a glass of whiskey. Just cut right to the chase.
That's right. Let's move this along.
That's right. It's taking a little longer than it should. Let's cut right to it.
So, all right. So we're talking about inflation. Wait, before we get to talking about inflation, so what about our website? Are we gonna do it? Is it happening?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll do a whole thing.
Now, are we gonna get help from the Marsden Law Group?
Yes,
Are they
the Marsden Law Marketing Group.
Marsden
Law Marketing Group.
I think we're going to contract the Marsden Law. So stay tuned, folks, because it's going to be there. And for those of you who are on our list, on our listening list, you'll be able to sign up. You'll be able to sign up through the website to get on our official list. So we're going to send out. There'll be some Facebook messages coming from the Marsden Law Group.
Absolutely.
And there'll be some emails. So be prepared. Be ready. And this is the other thing. I know that there's a lot of you loyal. Like we've had some loyal listeners. Truly,
we've had some loyalty.
We've had some loyalty. Over the years, and as we're starting to put our marketing plan together, once the T-shirts are made, and I'm telling you, I'm telling you, there will be T-shirts. You guys are going to get them first.
All right.
You guys, and
sign up. Go to the Marsden Law Facebook page. Sign up at the Marsden Law Facebook page.
You'll get the
updates for the show.
You will get your T-shirt. Now,
That's right.
we're gonna have to wear the T-shirts. We're gonna have to wear the T-shirts on TV.
Well, I'm gonna have to
sport
start going
them.
to the gym then if we're going to be putting
Start
T-shirts on.
sport.
That's right.
We get maybe golf shirts too. Right?
Who knows? Mugs. Who knows?
Mugs, hats,
Hats,
cowboy hat, boots,
bathrobes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Smoking jackets.
Yep,
yeah.
that's right. That's right. Humidors. That's right. That's right. It's all based around vices.
All right, let's get back to the vice of not taking inflation into consideration when you're planning for your retirement.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Right. So, and as we said in the beginning of the show, it's easy, it's convenient to disregard because, especially from a, because if you're let's say you're a new, energetic young financial planner, and you're trying to gain clients, right? You want clients to invest their money with you, to invest their money with the firm, and you're going to say, well, listen, here's what we have, here's what I recommend based on my analysis. This is what I think, and then the client's going to say, I'm super conservative. Like I don't want to lose any money. This portion, let's say I have $200,000 in a checking account or in a savings account, earning 0.0001%. Like, I don't care.
I'd love to see it earn 0.00002%, right?
Yeah,
I'm more concerned.
I want to, but I don't want to mess with this. It's easy as a planner because, again, you kind of, as Mike Dianzaris has taught me, you want to dance with the bear. You want to make your clients happy, right?
Yes.
You want to please them, but as from a fiduciary standpoint. It's like, look, you get what's the purpose of this $200,000? And if they say that's to help augment my retirement, I want to draw income from it. And you're like, okay, if that's what you want to do, then guess what? If you're retiring in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, which is kind of what we're projecting out, if you're retiring in that time, this $200,000. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the same. It won't feel the same. It won't act the same. And particularly when you go to buy something, it won't last as long.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. If you say to somebody, look, you get $200,000. If we put your $200,000 in a coffee jar and we bury it in the backyard, right? That's the analogy. That's kind of the joke that everybody makes, right? I don't want to lose this money. I want to put it in a coffee can. Want to bury it in the back? Great, fine, fantastic.
Hold in cash.
That's right. And guess what? When we take it out of the ground 20 years from now, and it's still $200,000, and you're thrilled,
you're like,
that you got $200,000.
Found money.
I didn't lose any money, right? Then you go out and you start buying stuff.
Right.
And you realize, wait a minute, my 200 grand, it doesn't go as far as it used to. And by the way, everybody will joke. Everybody has a story. Everybody in their mind can think back, well, no matter what it is, and they could say, you know, when I was a kid, Twinkies cost this, right? Everyone loves to tell you that. You know, when they joke around about, you know, when I was a kid.
Remember when gas broke $1?
Yeah,
right?
Loaf of bread was a nickel, right?
Yeah.
And when they tell you that story because they're trying to expound on their life wisdom, right? Then it's really funny, and then they get it. But then when you say to them, hey, remember when bread was a nickel? Well, it's not a nickel anymore. For some reason, the concept is lost, right?
That's right. That's right.
And it's the same concept. Things used to be cheaper. And guess what? They're going to be, 20 years from now, we're going to be saying the same thing. Remember when gas was $3? What a deal. What a deal, gas $3, right?
Right.
I mean, that's going to happen.
We're right. We're going to be there. We're going to say, remember when gas went below $3, like during that, you know, when the price of oil and the, you know, price of oil went from $115 a barrel down to, you know, $38 a barrel. And we're like, yeah, it was, because right now, because I remember when it was the other way, and not long ago, when it went the other way, when gas was up around $5 a gallon, right? And everybody's like, I remember when gas was so cheap.
And people made a conscious decision to say, I'm going to fill my tank up twice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and fill it once because once is $75.
Yeah.
So I'll fill half my tank up and then I'll fill it up again Thursday.
That's exactly right. Because
same amount of money.
Manage their cash flow.
It was a shakedown. Yeah.
So what do I do? How do I hedge against this? How do I work against this? So at the end of the day, if I'm investing for retirement, if I'm investing in order to grow my retirement, we kind of touched on this, you have to assume some risk. You have to be able to outpace inflation. Right. And right now, because of the interest rates, because the interest rates are, in the days of high interest rates, when I could get a 5% CD, it was much easier. It was much safer for me to keep pace with inflation, because if inflation was 3%, if the average, say, 10-year
as a conservative investor,
as a conservative,
much easier. That's
much easier,
That's
right? So if inflation was 3% and I had a CD that paid 4%, guess what? I won.
And I would just renew that all day long.
I won, right? And I can be conservative, and the inflation risk at that point goes away, or at least for that time period.
That's right. That's right.
So the inflation risk goes away.
By the way, just the inflation risk. We're not talking about any of the other risks. This is just talking about inflation.
This is general inflation.
This is staying ahead of inflation.
And remember, we talked about that there's different commodities or different things inflate faster than others. And it could be whether it's food, whether it's fuel, whether it's
healthcare, college. Those
costs,
inflation rates are much higher.
Well, yeah, those might be different animals, right? Yeah, college costs, forget it. So in the old days, when the interest rates were high, I could do that. Now the interest rates are low, so I can't do it. I can't outpace inflation with something that's guaranteed, with something that with a guaranteed rate, either whether it be from an insurance company or whether it be from the bank or whatever. So I have to assume some risk. And this is the hard part. This is the tricky part for people to say, look, well, I don't want to assume some risk. And you say, okay, by doing nothing, you are now assuming risk. Yeah. You are assuming that the inflation rate is not going to go up. Yeah. That is what your assumption is.
You're guaranteeing that you're behind the curve.
Now, if it was 2009, when you had a negative 1% inflation rate or a deflation rate of 1%, you're golden. You're psyched. You know what? Hey, you're right. You know what? You can, if you had your money in a CD that made 1%, and then in 2009, at the end of that, you made your 1%, and inflation, the average was down 1%. You're kind of up 2 in the purchasing power, right?
Yeah, you're ahead of the curve on that one. Yeah.
Guess what?
That 1 year.
Guess what happened for the rest of the years in just this century alone? Inflation went up, and it went up by over 1% each year, at least by more than 1% each year. So there you go.
So there's your risk.
So it's,
and by the way, just so you said, people's risk. When they say they want to avoid risk, what they want to avoid is losing money, right? And so when they say, look, I don't want to take any risks because I'm afraid of losing money. And the answer is, that's fine. Doing nothing, you're losing money. You're losing money. So
right, and it's that concept of purchasing power, and that's what it's hard for people to translate that. They're saying, well, this is what my statement looks like. My statement says that I have $100,000, so that's how much I have. And it's the same thing like when people when their account values go down in their investments, right? And they say, "Oh my God, my account's worth $89,000." Well, it's not. It's just that's what it's worth today if you were to cash it out.
That's right.
But that's just it. It's like, so my account's worth $100,000, but guess what? In 5 years, that $100,000 doesn't have the same purchasing power that it had 5 years ago.
And the risk is if you do nothing, year over year over year over year, things get exponentially more expensive, and your ability to keep up with those things does not keep up with those prices. And again, it's all about purchasing power, which is the same thing. If you lose your money, if you have if your money's aggressively invested and the market drops, and you use your example where you go from 100,000 and now it's 89,000, yes, on paper you've lost $11,000 of purchasing power like that.
Yep. And if you cash out, you've really lost it.
That's right.
If you cash out, then you've assumed that loss.
Right. This is a slower. It's almost like a slower. This is the whole like frog in the hot water thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't realize it's happening. All of a sudden, you say to yourself, where did all my money go?
That's a great analogy.
Huh? Well,
the frog in the hot water.
Right. That's it, right? That's exactly what it is.
He's got a lot of frogs at his house.
That's right.
It's in the woods. Yeah, right.
That's when clients come in, they want to talk about insurance. The first thing we do is we put a frog on the stove for hot water. And they say, see? We put two.
Poor Kendall comes in. Dad, no,
That's
not
right.
again.
Not the inflation conversation, Dad. We have 2 pots of water, with one with a frog in it, one just boiling. I say to the client, which one do you want to go with?
Yeah.
But this is the issue. You don't realize it's happening, and all of a sudden it's, why is everything so expensive? And how come I don't have as much money as I thought I had? I had the same amount of money, but it doesn't feel like I had the same amount of money.
Because you don't, because it's not the same amount.
My dinner tab is much more expensive than it was 10 years ago.
That's right.
Why is that? Right?
Why is it costing me to take my wife out to dinner, $130 instead of the $70 at the same restaurant that I went to 10 years ago? So what can I do? All right, so we talked about assuming risk. We talked about so your investments and whatever shape your investments take, and it could be investments in the market, it could be investments in real estate, it could be investments in your company, it could be whatever means you have in order to try and appreciate your assets. Your investments have to outpace inflation. In order for you to be able to have like that real understanding and the real translation of what that money is going to be able to.
For you to not lose purchasing power, for your quality of life to stay the same as it does right now.
So if right now if we make $100,000 a year and we live a comfortable life, if inflation goes up by 2% over 10 years, then we have to go up by 10%. We have to make $110,000, or we have to make $115,000 in order to be able to do the same exact thing that we're doing now. And that's and in order to get there, I have to assume I have to make more money. Right. I have to now whether it be my how I'm going to like my income. And so what is my income going to be down that road? I mean, if I'm planning right now that I'm going to be able, so if I have $1 million, we use the $1 million rule. If someone's got $1 million and they say, well, I can take 5% for life, 5%, and I'm going to be good to go, 5%. So if that $1 million doesn't grow or doesn't appreciate, so that $50,000 that I'm getting this year in retirement, 10 years from now, if the $1 million just kind of stays the same, then guess what? $50,000 isn't going to cut it.
It's not going to get it done.
It's not going to cut it unless unless budgetary reasons, I can cut my costs, or maybe I don't have a mortgage payment anymore for whatever there is. But that $50,000 is not going to buy the same things that it does 10 years from now.
That's right. And that's the issue. And so what do you do? So you have to try to, even if you're risk averse, right? Even in the most, you talk about sort of a range of portfolio options. Even in a conservative portfolio, you have to have some part of your portfolio allocated to a slightly more aggressive sleeve.
Yeah, you got to. Something's got to grow. Something's got to grow, and you can mitigate risk, right?
Oh yeah.
I can be a conservative investor and not put everything into the aggressive sleeve.
Yeah.
Easy, and nor should you. That's because then you're assuming too much risk on the other side.
But as a conservative investor, if you have 10 or 20% of your portfolio allocated towards something that's a little bit more aggressive, something that's a little bit more total return based, that may be enough. And potentially, depending on who you're looking to sort of work with, you can talk to your advisor and you could say, well, what am I looking at? Because if the advisor can say to you, well, some of the more conservative portfolios. Now remember, but a conservative portfolio, what that means is If the market's up 10, you might only be up 4.
That's right. You can't compare that to the S&P 500. You can't say, why is we get this all the time. Like, hey, the S&P 500 is up 13%. How come my portfolio is not up 13%? I'm like, because your portfolio is not the S&P 500.
That's right. Which, by the way, which you indicated early on that you were very conservative. But you're ahead of inflation. You're making a couple of bucks more than inflation, and that's the objective. You're not losing purchasing power.
One more thing is that, so in the idea of kind of the risk schematic of, like low risk versus high risk, understand that if I'm in the market, even if I'm in a low risk investment, right? Something that's not guaranteed. So even if I'm in a fixed income, low duration bond, very kind of conservative treasuries or anything like that, there still is some inherent risk in any type of, even like a low risk, low duration fixed income account. There's always market risk.
There's always
market risk.
But there's different types of risk.
There's different levels. That's right. There's different levels of risk. So understand. So if we say, hey, if you're a conservative investor and you say, I want to put 20% in growth and the rest in low risk, remember that 80% that's in low risk, there's still some risk. It's not no risk. It's low risk.
That's right.
So it's important to understand that. But that's okay, because again, if you're conservative, you're assuming some risk in order, and then in our show example, to outpace inflation. I want to stay consistent with inflation. I want to stay like one step ahead of inflation.
Right.
And if I do that, and based on my calculations, if I can do that, then I'm going to be okay. Then my $100,000 a year when I go retire is going to, maybe it's $130,000 a year, but I'm in the same place. I'm in the same. And again, who knows? Inflation could go much higher. It could go, but this is based on averages and estimates that I could be in the same place so long as I kept pace with inflation.
Right. And remember, taking no risk has risks, right? And the risk that we've talked about is probably the biggest one, which is if you take no risk in your portfolio and you don't want to earn a lot, the risk is you'll lose purchasing power. That's the biggest challenge.
Okay, so if you want to learn more about this, you'll be able to, again.
Inflation's so sexy.
If you want to come back to sexy inflation, that's going to be
the title. If you have kids that were listening to we apologize if the kids were listening to the show, because it's kind of a racy topic.
Yeah, well, and
usually you put that disclaimer usually goes in the front end of the show. If you have kids in the car, turn down the radio right now, because it's going to get a little racy.
The S word during the show.
That's right.
Earmuffs.
Right? Yep, that's right. So this is our sexy inflation show.
All right, we'll reach out to you. You reach out to us. The website should be up, moneyinthelaw.net, although I don't know if that's officially it, but keep an eye out. If you need to get a hold of us, you can also contact us through WMRC, MyFM 101.3. I'm John Drohan. This is Jay Marsden. We're Money in the Law here on Saturday mornings. Holliston Cable Access TV, thank you for coming.
Christian, God bless him.
Christian, welcome back, brother. All right, and we will be back next week, next Saturday, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Forever.
Probably forever. We'll see everybody next week.
Have a great weekend.